Well, it's finally time to tackle one of these projects. The old Trx250r here has been dead for about a year. Kicks over, but I'm quite positive it probably burnt a hole in the piston or something like that. I'm hoping that's all it is. We're finally gonna get this thing up on the lift and see how bad it is. First, I guess we gotta put some air in all the tires because they're all flat. All right, we got the thing up on the lift here. So this thing, the last time I was screwing around with it, well, I haven't screwed around with it, but I stole parts off of it. I stole the carb off of it, spark plug, coil and stuff, because I was troubleshooting some stuff on my three-wheeler 250R and took those things off it. But I think what we're gonna do, pull his rear fenders off, front, plastics, we'll get the tank. We'll just pull everything off, drain the coolant out of this, pull a cylinder off. So it's got a spark cylinder on it. So this motor, I don't really know much history about at all. I got this thing basically in this state. It wasn't running at the time, which really ended up being just a no spark issue, and a bad CDI was kind of the main cause. And then it ran great, and then the last time we had it out, I decided to like change oil on it and then topped off the coolant and stuff, and then noticed when we were going out, all of a sudden saw this thing was dripping some coolant. Noticed my fill cap, I didn't get all the way tight. So I looked at it at the time and it seemed like it was still pretty much full of coolant. So like, oh, let's keep running. And then, I don't know, not a whole lot longer after that, all of a sudden, it just kind of felt like it lost compression. So we're gonna see how bad it is. The rear plastics all come off in one piece with the seat just like that. Pull this front little hood off. Next, I think we'll leave these side plastics on. They shouldn't really be in the way. Take this tank cover off and then pull our gas tank off out of the way. There's just kind of one bolt holding that on and get that out of the way, and then we can kind of really get full access to this motor. Well, just like that, we got everything off. Decided to pull those side plastics off too, just a couple bolts, and figured get them out of the way. So really, we need to drain some coolant out of this thing and then kind of pop the pipe off, pull the head off, some cylinder nuts. That's kind of about it. Not a whole lot to these two strokes. And I'm really hoping it's just a bad top end. I don't want to tear too much farther, but figured since I got it torn this far down apart, we'll definitely do a good clean and detail on everything and make this thing good to go again. All right, just got the last of the coolant out of this thing. So I think next we'll probably just pull some of these radiator lines, get this pipe out of the way too, and then start pulling this cylinder off. I did not get a lot of coolant out of this thing. I think that might have been my problem, is that I think when I looked down inside here, I was a little deceived on how much coolant was still in it. So I'm guessing it probably melted that piston. So we're gonna pull this pipe off though, and I think the easiest thing is we'll undo this little clamp, probably just pull the silencer off too, undo some springs, and this should come apart in two pieces or something, I think. We'll tackle that. It's always fun when you're pulling other stuff apart and see other people's handiwork. So somebody JB welded this coolant fitting on there. I don't think that's a factory mount, but got this pipe loose. And I think I do need to separate it down there to get this thing off. So we'll do that quick, and then I shove this pipe out of the way. Got this pipe off. Boy, I'm really kind of tempted once I get this thing back together, maybe polish this pipe back up. Also notice, oh, the little silencer part in there is just floating around, so I have to pop this off or maybe get a different silencer tip for it. On to the cylinder. Pop some coolant lines off in this head and see what happens. Got all the head bolts loose. Let's pop this head off. See if we find anything interesting. Oh, dropped a washer. Oh yeah. Looks like the piston's melted right there and cracked and stuff. That would be our issue. Cool. I hope that's the only issue. Let's get this cylinder off. Looks like we just got a couple nuts there, and then this cylinder should pop off too. Alrighty, up it comes. Oh, so we've got a spacer there. So this, I've always kind of been curious with this being, it's an 87 frame, but I didn't know if this was a long rod motor or what the situation is. So we've got a spacer down there, so that would indicate that for some reason. I can never remember exactly which combination is what you do if you got a long rod crank versus a standard piston and so on, but we'll get this thing off here. yeah, there it is. Yep. Hard to build compression with a hole in the piston and stuck rings. Okay. All good. Crankshaft feels fine though. Got no play that way, so that's great. Alright, I guess we'll get the cylinder out of the way here too and see what that looks like on the inside. Well, we got a lot of piston remains that are stuck into that cylinder. I'm kind of curious what bore this is and everything. Oh, let's get that to focus. I mean, the rest of the cylinder, I don't know if I can get away with just honing this thing up again, or if I would for sure need to bore it over. It looks bad, but that is all piston remains that's stuck to the cylinder that should come off fairly easy. I don't see any like giant scrapes or gouges or anything. Just looks like melted piston. And then on the piston here, it's cracked right there, and those rings are just melted really good too. Nice big crack. It looks like some coolant on the top there, so I don't know, I mean, if it probably blew this head gasket when it got hot and stuff too, and then maybe that's what happened, is the head gasket blew and then it shot some coolant in there and then cracked that piston from the cold fluid and stuff. So I've done a little more inspecting here. So this rod, it's a Wiseco WR10006, which appears to be a long rod from like the later motors, but my piston there is like a 70 millimeter. So I actually have a stock piston. This is like a 66 millimeter, and look at that. We got all sorts of room in there. So this thing is bigger than stock. So we got a 70 millimeter in there and a long rod. Not really sure what I need to do here. So definitely, if somebody's got some experience with the 250Rs and these kind of odd combinations, I don't think it's quite a 310 kip. I think those are about a 72 millimeter piston. So this might be like a 295 or something like that. Possibly. I'll have to do a calculation there. But we've definitely had some stuff done to it. So we're going to figure out what we've got going on here and what this thing's going to take to get it put back together right. All right, so it's the next day. I've pretty much spent the whole night kind of Googling and researching, and this is what I figured out. So this definitely has, well, this is an 87 chassis. I'm guessing it's probably still the 87 motor, possibly, although it's got black cases. Hard to say. I don't know. But anyway, it's a long rod motor. But what we've got going on, I guess Sparks, the cylinder manufacturer, or the person that did the porting and everything on this, what they like to do is they had a 265 kit, which was the long rod motor, and then it started out with a 68.5 millimeter piston. And what they did is they used a cylinder from an 85 or 86 250R, the ATC also, because on those, the bore, you could go all the way up to like 69 millimeter or so, whereas like the later 87 to 89 cylinders, the biggest you could do was 68 millimeter based on the sleeve and stuff. So what's going on here though is this has got a 70 millimeter piston, and I guess the trick back in the day is you use a Yamaha YZ piston, and they made those up to a 70 millimeter, and you could just sneak out a 70 millimeter out of here instead of getting up to 69 and a half or so. So it seems like that's what we've got. Is the downside is I think this thing's definitely on the last bore, so I don't believe that this has been plated on the inside or anything. It doesn't look like it's Nicasol plated. It looks like it's still a steel liner and everything. And I'm kind of stuck with either trying to salvage this one, which I've been researching a few things to get the aluminum off of there, that you can dissolve that with some muriatic acid, which I might try, because I'd like to save this cylinder instead of going back to like a stock one or something. So currently this thing is actually like a 277 cc. So I think what I'm kind of stuck with is trying to get another 70 millimeter piston from a YZ, seeing if I can save this thing. So it's kind of interesting what they did on this. Unfortunately, yeah, either I'd have to kind of re-sleeve this one or potentially like send it out and have it like, you know, replate it, like do a Nicasol plating on it to kind of get it back to that 70 millimeter, which is not a horrible idea either. Or find a different cylinder, which I've got another cylinder from an old three-wheeler floating around, but I think it's just a stock one from like an 85, so nothing special. So that's where we're at with this thing right now. So stay tuned. We're gonna get this thing figured out. But it was definitely kind of an oddball motor, but I'd kind of like to keep it about to what it was because it ran really good before and I really liked it. And I don't want to go smaller in power by any means. So yeah, pretty interesting the things that people did. Got a Yamaha piston in this thing. So I just pulled the piston off of here, and yep, so we've got a Pro X YM250 or 2508 piston in it. Stamped 200, which would probably mean 2 millimeters over, which is a 70 millimeter piston. So I think this is our plan of action, is to try to save this cylinder and see if we can get this thing cleaned up and get another one of these pistons. Also, it looks like they've drilled some extra cooling or oiling holes in this thing, so probably have to replicate that as well.